week we're learning Parsha Reach. Moshe continues his 36 days long sermon, basically repeating the history of Jewish people over 40 years in the desert, as well as the laws of Torah. He says to the people of Israel, I place before you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing that will come when they will fulfill God's commandments. And the curse if you people will abandon them. This should be, and the blessing should be proclaimed on top of Mount Gerizim, where the curses should be proclaimed on top of Mount Ebal after Jewish people will cross the Jordan River into the Holy Land. Then Parsha tells us that a temple should be established in the place that God will choose, where the people should bring their sacrifices only there, sacrifices to God. It is forbidden to make offerings to God in any other place as soon as that is dedicated. It is permitted to slaughter animals, however, elsewhere, not as a sacrifice, but to eat, as food, meat. The blood of those animals must not be eaten and must be thrown down into the ground, the dust. If a false prophet appears who entices others to worship idols, he should be put to death. That's a clear statement. The identifying signs of kosher animals and fish proclaimed in this Torah portion. A long list of non-kosher birds, non-kosher, right? And the first time it was given in Vayikra, in Leviticus, and here it's repeated. Then Parsha tells us about the tenth of all produce which is to be eaten in Jerusalem. Or it can be exchanged for money if the person is far away from Jerusalem, and then for those money he purchases food in Jerusalem and eats it there and shares it with the other people. In certain years, tithe, 1/10, is given to the poor. The firstborn cattle and sheep are to be offered in the temple and their meat eaten by the Kohanim. Then Torah tells us in this parsha the mitzvah of charity, which obligates every Jew to aid a needy fellow with a gift or a loan. On the sabbatical year, occurring every 7th year, all loans are to be forgiven and indentured servants are to be set free after 6 years of service. By the way, the next year, after Jewish New Year in September, the next year is the sabbatical year, Shemitah. Our parsha concludes with the laws of the 3 pilgrimage festivals, Passover, Shavuot, and Sukkot, when all must go to Jerusalem to be seen and to see others before God in the Holy Temple. And that's the content of this parsha. As you can see, Moshe turns here into the details, which will extend over several portions of this book, the last book of Torah. He goes into the long review of the laws that will be given to Israel, that will govern Israel in its land. And this review begins and ends with Moses posing an incredible choice. Here is exactly how he frames it in this week parsha. I quote, "See, I am setting before you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing if you obey the commands of the Lord your God that I am giving you today. The curse if you disobey the commands of the Lord your God and turn from the way that I command you today by following other gods, which you have not known." What Moshe is saying in simple words is to survive, let alone to thrive in the land of Israel, you must be true to your faith, history and destiny, your mission, calling and task as a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. He is appealing to our freedom of will, our ability to make decisions. We humans in general, and Jews specifically, are the only creatures in the whole universe, except God himself, who have the freedom of will to make choices and decisions. I'm not talking about decisions to drink tea or coffee or what kind of chocolate you would prefer. No. These decisions are driven by our physicality, by our physical preferences, reflexes, upbringing, where we live, etc., environment. They are the same as every other animal on this planet. They all have got this, including us. Freedom of will is given only to humans and works only in a narrow field of morality, ethics, and our relationship with the spiritual world. That's it. The good society does not just happen by itself. Cannot. It is made from moral choices of each one of us making as an individual and as a community. This is the basic message of the Devarim, of this book. We will choose the blessings or the curses. Which one we will do? The test of the society really is not a military, political, or economic or demographic. It is a moral and spiritual test. That is what is revolutionary about the biblical message of this parsha. And this is why I am responsible for what I do. But I am also responsible for what you do. As Maimonides wrote in his Sefer HaMitzvot, it is not right for any of us to say, I will not sin, and if someone else sins, that is a matter between him and his God. No. This is the opposite of what Torah says. In other words, it is not the state or the government or the army or the police that is a primary guardian of the law. They are all necessary, as we will learn in the next week Parsha, where it says you shall appoint magistrates and officials for your tribes. What is important more than that is each one of us and all of us together. That is what makes Judaism ethics of covenant unique. To make correct choices. A free society is made by personal responsibility for the moral, spiritual order first. And then, after that, by the structures created by the state, government, politicians, judiciary, police, etc. Why so? What is the connection between morality and freedom? The less law enforcement depends on surveillance and policing, and more on the internalized habits of law-abiding citizens, or the morality, the freer is the society. Look at what happened to us right now. This is how relevant this is to our daily life. Look at our current COVID-19 tragedy in Sydney and all of New South Wales. Initially, our New South Wales Premier, Berejiklian, wanted to rely on high level of morality of New South Wales population, and this is why she did not lock down the state completely immediately as they have done in Victoria. She expected that the people will understand and will choose high moral ground and will get vaccinated as soon as possible and will follow the lockdown rules completely, because their freedom of will, their high morals will tell them that that is the important and the right thing to do in order to protect themselves as well as the others from the virus. People around them, people they know and people they don't. Unfortunately, some people want to pursue only their own imaginary rights of some kind of a freedom, which they don't even fully understand what that freedom means. But they cannot accept even basic responsibility for others, even members of their own families. Do you realize really that what vaccine you will get, AstraZeneca or Pfizer or anything else, it does not make any difference whether you will live or die. This is decided by the spiritual world, at least for 99% of the population of this planet. On the day we are all born, variations from that happened only to absolute outright sinners. On the negative side, life can be shortened and it can be lengthened if you are a huge saintly person and a tzaddik. Very rare. The behavior of people still not vaccinated and breaking lockdowns rules is a very clear indicator of how low our godless society morals and ethical standards are. Based on artificial laws of political correctness and denial of the laws of God and Torah. This is what it is. This is why the state was forced to bring in higher level of policing, even to call in the defense force. This is exactly what Moses is saying in this week's Torah portion. If you people will follow the laws of Torah laws, which is life and blessings, everything will be fine, hunky-dory. But if not, God will have to bring in the curse, which is more enforcement via the police, army, and lockdowns, etc. If we want to end the lockdowns to get back to our real freedom, we must become moral community. We must follow the rules which we are told. Start thinking about people around you, around all of us. Get vaccinated as soon as possible. Doesn't matter what vaccine. If your destiny is to die, you will die anyway. And follow all the rules. If you all start thinking about community of people living together in New South Wales or any other state of Australia, we will be able to defeat the COVID-19 virus. Shabbat Shalom.
Ada